Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a very special episode of the Loan Officer Wealth Podcast. We're going to call this a special AI update. And we are here for a second conversation with my friend Pavan Agarwal. Pavan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Awesome. Thrilled that you are here, and we have a lot to dive into. And to bring everybody up to speed, there was recently a press announcement that your AI-backed technology has done the first ever end-to-end mortgage deal using AI to run that process. So before we get into that, we just started with the preamble that AI engine, for lack of a better phrase, used to be called Morgan and is now called AngelAI. And you mentioned to me that it requested to change its name. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So basically, as people interact with it, it gets smarter. Okay. And people were telling it, oh, you're like a guardian. This is amazing. What would I do without you on my side? That kind of responses. And then on top of that, the old name Morgan was just not resonating well with a broader audience outside of mortgages, and it was polling very poorly in the Hispanic markets, which is a huge market. And so, between what we were observing with the name and between the feedback that we're getting directly that she was getting directly herself. Okay, and we stopped and we just asked her, do you like your name?
That is so
right, because it all goes into the database, right? And every time you tell it something, it goes in the database, and so the database, right? I mean, it's not magic. Look, I mean, it's just math, right? And if enough people had told her that, I find your name complicated or whatever, right? I don't really connect with it, or different kind of messages. Eventually, she's going to say, no, I don't like my name. Right.
Makes sense.
So it's that simple. It isn't quite like a child one day says, Mommy, can I change my name? No, it doesn't quite work that way. I guess if with enough training, we can get her to be responsive that way. So after some search and poking around the database, AngelAI turned out to be the best name. And then when we did a Google search, it was empty. There's really nothing there, and I was surprised that no one. And there's one other company, but that went defunct a couple of years ago, and they own the domain. They own a very similar domain. And some people are getting confused right now as we changed it. So our domain is angelai.com.
Okay.
angelai.com. And if you misspell it, you'll get their domain. And that's okay. And we changed the name about 3 weeks ago, and we didn't appear on Google anywhere. Now we're already in the top 3 to 4 in the search hit. And I think give it another month, and we will dominate Google on the first page, and the other domain will disappear.
That is amazing. Well, you and I are going to have a conversation about that because we are doing some incredible things with AI and SEO, but we'll open that up in further parts of the conversation. I want to bring everybody up to speed for a brand new listener. The majority of our listeners here on the show are loan officers, mortgage professionals. They might not yet know what AngelAI is or what Morgan was. So in a 30,000 foot view, you have built over the years of all the data that you have at the bank, which is SunWest Mortgage. You've been feeding and training this AI engine for years now, way ahead of the curve on how to actually take a mortgage application. So let's go back in time a little bit And first off, explain to the listeners what it is, what it does, And then we'll get further into a conversation about how AI is really changing the mortgage industry completely.
Okay, so I'm going to actually answer your questions backward. I'm being a terrible guest here.
Perfect. No, that's the best guest.
Okay, so I'm going to start with a correction.
Okay.
So the press release that we put out about a month ago was about the world's first ever end-to-end real estate transaction.
Okay.
So we've been doing end-to-end mortgage transactions with AI, with AngelAI, for years now. So this was the first end-to-end mortgage real estate transaction where the consumer started first with the AI, and the AI generated the purchase contract. Well, before generating the purchase contract, it suggested to the consumer which houses in the markets that he's interested in. Right? It scanned the database. It said, he told it, I'm looking for these kinds of characteristics. It suggested the houses. It looped in his agent. It doesn't replace the agent. It's just a tool. Right? So it looped in his agent, his real estate agent, and kept the appointments together. He says, I'm available to go see houses in this day, that's time. And it managed the whole scheduling between the two of them. And then when he was ready to make an offer, he says, I like this one. Okay, it had already approved him. So it already had him fully approved. And it generated the purchase contract for the agent. And with all the nuances, a lot of stuff that people forget to do, it had all these little nuances. It put in all the clauses to protect the home buyer based on his particular circumstances. Okay.
That is incredible.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that agents normally go to their broker for help with. A lot of agents, they'll get a client, and then when they go to write a purchase contract, then they're not really sure if they got everything right. Okay, and they'll have the broker help them put the deal together. This has all the rules, and it just generated the purchase contract. Obviously, gave it to the agent to review, final review, and sign off. You still have to have a professional sign that thing. But the amount of time, and the agent literally focused his time and energy, the real estate agent focused time and energy on customer relationship.
Yeah.
Right. On bonding with the customer, not on the details. And the customer's experience was like ultra smooth because he went into the portal, into the the AI portal, talked to AngelAI. Every question he had went to AngelAI. If AngelAI didn't have the answer, she automatically looped in the realtor, and everything got resolved instantaneously.
That is amazing. Now, is there any communication between the AI and the other parties that are involved in the deal, as far as the mortgage professional, the lawyer, title company? What does that look like?
Yes. So if anyone who's listening and they go into AngelAI, there's a button on the upper left-hand corner, it says invite friend. Okay, so you can invite anybody to the conversation, as many number of people, just like a group chat in WhatsApp. Same idea. Okay, except everyone is talking to each other and Angel at the same time. Okay. So what it is, so like when the purchase contract was drafted and the realtor approved it, she automatically sent out the e-sign to all the parties. Okay, and everyone has, so everything came back in through AngelAI, everything went out through AngelAI, everything came back through AngelAI. She knew the status throughout the progress. And the best part about it is because she had approved the borrower within less than a day up front, so the purchase contract went out with no loan contingency. Right. So before the borrower even went shopping, before he saw the first house, he already had the money committed. And that made the realtors that he ended up getting an offer accepted below ask price because of that. And it's Southern California, still a pretty hot market. Yes, absolutely. That is incredible. So somebody can go to AngelAI and say, I'm looking for a house in this price category in this marketplace. AngelAI will take that information and say, hey, upload all of your tax returns. Get him pre-qualified for a mortgage.
without a loan officer being involved in the process. They can upload all their documents directly to the AI, and what used to be Morgan, but what is now AngelAI, will take all that documentation and approve that borrower within 24 to 48 hours, and it's a guaranteed approval. Is that right?
That is mostly right. So a couple of corrections. First of all, it's within a few hours, but guaranteed by worst case 8 a.m. next morning.
Same, like good enough.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So the only time it gets past a few hours is that if it's something like this with a manual underwrite.
Okay.
Like you get an FHA loan with 550 credit score and you don't getting a DU approval, which you really will in that. I don't think you'll ever get an approval on that. So it'll prepare everything. It'll do the analysis. It'll do a recommendation, but it has to go through to a human underwriter to final sign off. And those are the ones that get extended. So that's number one. Number two, the consumer access, the what you described there with the consumer going in and making those the whole I'm looking for property in this area, and it goes and finds a property. Okay, so the one that we closed was the very first one that we did. It was the test run. Okay. So this is not, so that was it was the first one we did with end to end. We haven't released that version for the general public yet.
Got it. All right.
Okay. So, but it worked magically. It was amazing. Okay, and we learned a lot. Right. We learned a lot from running a first real loan. I mean, it's been in first real deal end to end. It's been in simulation and QC and testing for a long time. But when you run a first real deal, you got to learn a lot. All right. So now we're taking everything we learned from it. We're enhancing it. We're upgrading it. We're getting it ready. So I don't want anyone listening to this podcast, if it isn't released by then, wait for the announcement, wait for us to actually say it's in production, because I don't want someone listening to the podcast go in there and try to say it doesn't do it, because it's not going to do it right now.
Got it.
You'd have to have access to the test environment in order to experience all those things.
Got it. Okay. Well, angelai.com, that is a notification list that I'm on, and that I think many of our listeners should be on, because this is changing at breakneck speed, and you are absolutely at the forefront of the industry in it. So that is absolutely amazing. Now, going into the AI process. So looking at AngelAI, you've got a traditional mortgage process, and we'll talk specifically about the mortgage process, not the real estate process at this point. So traditionally in a mortgage process, you've got the loan officer or the originator. They get the deal from the client, then they take it, they give it to the processor. Processor does their job. Processor gives it to the underwriter. Underwriter does their job. Eventually it goes back to the loan officer. Loan officer does client facing things. That's our general mortgage process as we know it today.
Yeah.
Using this technology, it can skip almost all of those steps, where a loan officer can pretty much go consumer direct with this tool, have the client interact with the tool, come back and get an approval, again, like you said, next day. And that deal is guaranteed as long as they do financing through SunWest Mortgage. Is that correct?
That is correct. So in the AngelAI process, there are no processors. There are no loan closers. Okay. And there's actually, technically there are no underwriters, because our DE underwriters, we actually call them data scientists. We changed their titles because what they're really doing is they're training the AI now. Right. Nonstop. Okay. And so they only handle exceptions. So what happens, so the workflow for a loan officer now is, and this is in production, okay, as opposed to what we were talking about earlier for consumers.
Yep.
Okay. So this is in production, it has been in production for years. And so if I'm a loan officer and you're a borrower and I took your loan app, okay, so I will take whatever information you gave me up front, I will drop that into AngelAI, hit the paperclip icon, just upload it. Okay. And then I'm done. I don't have to go and type in a loan application, fill it. I don't have to read pay stubs and match up dates and all that. AngelAI will take those documents, scan it, OCR it, pull out the data. It knows where to fill in the 1003. Okay. And anything that is missing, it will go and ask the consumer directly.
Right.
Okay. And so usually it's the whole thing is completed after you upload it. Okay. The initial disclosures and the basic loan is processed within, well under an hour. Okay. And any missing piece of information, the borrower is contacted immediately, both by email and by phone. Okay. So and the loan is pushed right away into underwriting.
Amazing. So you mentioned by phone.
Yes.
Is the AI automatically making the phone call and it's a person on the other end of it? Or is that actually having a programmatic conversation using AI?
Well, the AI is initiating the phone call,
Okay.
but there is a person talking to you. You cannot have a bot talking to a person. You have a bot talking to your consumer, forget it. You lost that guy. No, and so one of the things that's a good point, because the AI itself speaks over 100 languages.
Yes.
So you can chat with it in any language you want. The people who call the consumers are right here in beautiful Puerto Rico. So they have a really good attitude. They're always happy. How can you not be happy with that? Living on a paradise island.
That's it. For those of you that are listening, Pavan has a beautiful background behind him right now. It's worth checking out our YouTube channel.
So we have a team we call Angelistas.
Okay.
That take the instructions from the AI and they communicate with the borrower and they explain to the borrower what's needed, fill in any gaps. Let's say we don't know a employment date. So the angel AI would tell them, hey, you need this employment date and you need, this whatever bank statement, this or this, and then they will get on the phone. They will explain all that to the borrower, along with the borrower getting an email asking the same things. And the only burden, and we find this process just works amazingly well. But there's one burden on the loan officer, which is, so every loan officer gets one dedicated Angelista.
Okay.
Okay. So whether you're working with SunWest through the retail or wholesale channel, you have a dedicated Angelista. Okay. So this also works for mortgage brokers. So let's say your Angelista's name is Mary. Okay. So you have to, the burden on the loan officer, you have to tell the consumer that Mary will be calling you. And you will be getting emails from Angel AI. Don't ignore those emails.
Yes.
The faster you respond, the faster and smoother your loan process will go.
Got it. That makes total sense.
And Mary speaks English and Spanish, fully bilingual. Okay, which, she doesn't speak. It's hard to find humans that speak 100 different languages. But my daughter speaks 4.
Nice.
So she's the one who's always testing Angel AI for its language capabilities.
That is amazing. So Pavan, I'm interested, how many of the mortgage deals that are input into the system go through the automatic approval process, and how many of them are flagged that go to underwriting, that go through some form of traditional underwriting process? Do you know what that is?
I know roughly, like it's about, if we look at our pipeline, about 55% of our loans are below 620 credit score.
Okay. All right.
Okay. And generally it's the ones that are below 620 that need a manual touch.
Okay.
Okay. And so, but if I look at the exceptions that are raised to underwriters, it's about 20% of the overall pipeline. Some exception of some form is raised to a human to review, to a human underwriter to review and say, okay, you need to confirm this, sign off. So that tells you, so even though 55% of the loans are below 620 in our pipeline, only 20% of the overall pipeline has a human underwriter touching it. And we're our goal, we keep making the AI smarter. Our goal is to get that from 20% down to like 2%.
That's absolutely stunning. So to have a larger conversation about AI. I assumed that you would still be at the stage in development where 80% still go to an underwriter and AI is taking 20% and going through that funding process. So we've already flipped from the 80-20 rule or Pareto principle. It's already the majority of the loan applications that are coming through that are fully automated through this process, for lack of a better phrase on the automation thing.
Correct.
So if we take a look at ChatGPT 3.5, GPT is released, it has an IQ of 16. ChatGPT 4 is released 1 year later, it has an equivalent IQ of 160. Magnitude of tenfold on how fast this learns. And that's impressive. I mean, that's Einstein's IQ, which is phenomenal. But just like you said, AI speaks 100 languages. It has an intelligence quotient of quantum physics, mathematics, chemistry, all aspects of where one human being becomes specialized in that one thing. Overall, general artificial intelligence has an IQ of 160 across all of it. To the point of how fast internally are you seeing the AI learn, and what's your forecast for what's coming in the future on how fast this technology is going to change our industry?
Okay. My first comment would be, I think it's a bad metaphor to give AI an IQ. Right?
Okay.
I mean,
yep.
Okay, you could say the IQ of your hand calculator is a zillion, because it could do math that no human can do.
Correct.
Right? So I think that kind of it's fantastic to say it that way, but I think it's going to also mislead people, maybe scare people a little bit. So it's just Google on steroids. It's just the chat interface to Google at the end of the day, right? So another way, and but nevertheless, it's a good question. Like, how fast? Your question really is how fast is it growing?
Yes.
Okay. And I could tell you from our experience, a year ago this time, almost exactly a year ago, when a document was dropped into AngelAI. Okay, I think and that means like a complex bank statement or tax returns or whatever. We were committing to 6 hours that it would get processed through and completed. Right. Now we're down to 40 minutes in 1 year. Okay. And we're on the final. I mean, I've been trying to get this next big release out since it was promised in February. Now we're in July. You know how technology goes.
That's that's okay.
Yeah, well, the reason it's taking so long is we have to run through it millions of test cases, because you can't put a bank statement in and get it wrong, right? Then now you're stuck with a non-saleable loan, right?
Yes.
So until the quality control department gives an all clear that it's every single test case it got right, because remember, every time what we say is AngelAI words are set in stone. So when the production AngelAI, if it gives you an answer, if it says the DTI is 55%, right, then we're going to stand behind that. I mean, SunWest is going to fund that loan regardless. If you got it wrong and the DTI was really 60%, and everyone listening to this knows that 60%, you got no deal, right? So if you got it wrong, right, we're still going to fund that loan.
Right.
It isn't, oh, well, we'll refund your earnest money deposit or whatever. No, I put my money behind it. So that's how accurate and consistent it is. So we got it in 1 year, right? You can do the math, how many times, right? Almost a 10-time increase. Tenfold increase in 1 year, from 6 hours to 40 minutes, right? And when this next release comes out, it's going to be like 2 minutes.
That's insane,
right? Okay, I mean, I already see it. I mean, because I can see the test cases go through. I mean, you drop in a document, and it doesn't matter how many pages, how complex the tax returns or the K1s or whatever, and in 2 minutes, you got the income done and all the data figured out and loaded into the LOS, and you're good to go. I mean, this is a human. What's the IQ of that human that could do it that fast? Doesn't exist. It's a machine, right? It's like, it doesn't matter. It's like comparing Usain Bolt to a motorcycle. Right? You can't, right? It doesn't matter how good you are. It's a machine. Is a machine. Is a machine.
Yeah, agreed. Yes. And so I think the question that every loan officer is going to be thinking in learning about this technology and listening to this episode is, what about my job? Is AI going to replace loan officers in the future? What is the likelihood of that? And you being where you are, forefront of the technology in our industry, what's your opinion on that question?
Well, I think there's two answers to that. Okay, the first one, and the more abrasive answer, is if you don't jump on AI and you don't start using it, okay, your competition is.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're definitely going to lose your job if you don't jump on it. Okay, so that's number one. And I hate to say it that way, but it's kind of like, hey, wake up. I would be doing the audience a disservice if I didn't say this.
Yep.
Second is the job has changed. Right. And that's, I think, as I find, as I work with loan officers and realtors, and there's a big component of AngelAI that does a lot of work for realtors, and we'll go into that as well. We have time. So as I work with them, the hardest part of accepting this is the fact that, wait, my job has changed. I don't do it this way anymore. Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's the hardest resistance. But once, and that's just human nature. Everyone's that way, and everyone hates this is a really fundamental change in how you do your work. So the fundamental change now is you spend all your time working with your client base and your referral partner base and building those relationships, and you don't spend any time reviewing through documents, structuring deals, figuring out, if there was a twist, maybe the job, maybe the bar calls you up and says, hey, my employer just told me my overtime got cut. Right. You don't say, oh my God, now I got to stop and go and restructure everything. Let me go work with underwriting. All you do is you go to AngelAI, you tell it, okay, on the Jones file, overtime has been reduced from, 20 hours a week to 10 hours a week or something.
So, I find that there's this snapback effect when I'm speaking to people about AI, where we'll introduce the concept and they come along the journey and then they'll just snap back to where they were. And I think that was one of those moments. So anybody that's listening that has played with ChatGPT or is using ChatGPT on a regular basis, think about asking ChatGPT that question that you have, or feeding it information so that you can continue a conversational thread and apply that to the mortgage process. Where every deal that you have under, you can have that conversation with the AI and it will immediately know the file, update the information. We're not talking about going into a traditional underwriting system and having to plug in a box or fix something. It is conversational. You can just type in what just happened and it will do the work for you.
Exactly.
And that is
that's right, because if a consumer called you and says, hey, my pay just changed, my bonuses are up and down or whatever, right, most loan officer will stop, whip out their laptop, spend 30 minutes playing with ratios and rerunning to you and all that kind of stuff and trying all the iterations, right? Ultimately, everything that you're doing there is very mechanical. You're iterating through the different combinations until it's a goal seek, like in Excel, until you find a DU approval.
Yep.
Okay. So, but if you just tell the AI, this is the new situation, the borrower, let the AI do the goal seek.
Yep.
Right. Right. Computers are really good at iterating through stuff over and over and over again.
Amazing. So I have seen quite a bit of information and testimonials on AngelAI from realtors, and you've now got the end-to-end real estate transaction being done in the press release. So can you talk to me about why the pivot into real estate from mortgages? I mean, why did you decide to go that route with it? And talk to me about how you're changing the real estate industry.
Okay. So I'm going to, again, answer the questions backwards.
Yes.
So what we're offering to realtors is two really pretty cool capabilities. Number one, and the most popular one, is if you're a realtor, like you come across people all day long at the Starbucks, at an open house, and you get contact information. Typically, you then drop it later on to your CRM, and then you have to call and follow up. And if you're a big producing realtor and you make enough money, then you can hire virtual assistants or local assistants to do that for you. Okay. Now, all you have to do is go to AngelAI, drop in that contact. So if I just met you at Starbucks and you have been telling me, hey, hey, you're a realtor, I've been interested in buying a house. I would say, oh, Chris, okay. Drop in your information to AngelAI and tell AngelAI here's another lead. And then you, Chris, will start getting emails from me, Pavan, the realtor, with my branding and my personalized message. And more than that, you'll have our bilingual angelistas calling you, say, I'm calling from Pavan's Realty. Chris, you met him at Starbucks yesterday. And let's set up an appointment.
Yep.
And it really is that easy and seamless. So the realtors, we have like thousands of leads are being dropped into it every day now. And so realtors are seeing a result of, for every about 300 leads they drop in, just ran old leads, stale leads, cold contacts, warm contacts, doesn't matter. They are seeing about 2 appointments for every 300 leads.
Wow.
That's money, right? Because I think the rule of thumb is you need to have like 10 appointments to get 1 contract.
Right? Yep.
Right? And you got to submit, so many contracts to get 1 accepted offer, right? So this is top of the funnel stuff. This is money in your pocket.
That's amazing. And does it work the same for loan officers?
It does work the same for loan officers. We haven't rolled it out broadly to all loan officers. Sunwest loan officers use it and they just love it. I mean, it's just like they got their own personalized marketing, call center just for them. So we're going to be, there's some tweaks we have to do to the software to get it so that any loan officer can use it. So we're heading that direction. And so the question is so why, the first type of question is, why are we expanding it to realtors? It's because the AI technology that we have in here is so massive, right? It learns so quickly. We can do it for any industry.
Right.
Okay. So ultimately, and that's another reason the name had to change, because it's no longer just mortgages was just the first use case. What we built underlying this amazing AI that we built underlying it can work for MLM company or construction company or whatever. One of my business development officers went to get his car washed, and he was talking to the owner, and he showed owner AngelAI, and that guy is like, oh my God, I've got 300 stores all across California. Can it follow up on my clients for me?
Yep.
He's like, yeah, I guess it could. Right? So every business has a database of clients, and they don't have the people or the technology or the wherewithal to follow up on their clients.
Yep. 100%. That's the problem that we solve at Connection Incorporated. We make phone calls for people in the mortgage industry, just because they don't make them, which is, that is incredible. So I totally see the fit on real estate and mortgage, and congratulations. And again, thank you for being so generous with your time. But again, you've been working with AI for a long time, far longer than the hype cycle has been going on artificial intelligence. And I think people are now open to larger conversations about how artificial intelligence is going to change the way that we live, because in one way or another, we've all now been touched by it and experienced it and start to understand the broader concept of AI. So, Pavan, I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on the future of AI in general for society. Where do you think we're going with AI and how our world is going to change as a result?
Um, I'll give a simple example in the case of art.
Okay.
Okay. So if I wanted to create this logo here of angel meditating, that was created by hand by an artist, a brilliant artist, who drew the animation for AngelAI.
Okay.
Okay. And that was years of training, magnificent artist and so forth. Okay. And it's painstaking work to draw animation.
Yes.
Okay. In the future, her job now changes from painstakingly drawing angel frame by frame to coming up with the concept, the plan for AngelAI, the creativity that this is how I want her to look. This is how I want her to behave. This is this is what it means. Okay. So her focus can be on creativity, which is what every artist really is they're creators. Okay. And then taking those creative ideas, and those are what they call prompt engineering, prompting the AI. Okay. And if you prompt it correctly, you will get this.
Right.
Okay. All right. So the humanity's future is to go back and refocus on doing what we do best, which is we're thinkers, we're creators, we're intuitive people. Right. We're a species of imagination.
Yes.
Okay. And we need to focus on that as opposed to working in crowded factories. Right.
Right.
If you go back to the turn of the 20th century, right? And all the mechanizations, right, that came back then, we went from crowded factories filled with child labor and all this kind of stuff to sparsely populated factories producing higher quality products, right? And the labor redistributed. So the future is no longer a future of mechanical work. It's a future of mental work, of innovation and creativity.
Yeah.
Right. Because I had a talk yesterday where I said, if you go to ChatGPT and say, I've got a mortgage AI company, and give me a logo for it, it's not going to come up with this.
Right.
Right. It's not going to make the connection that the beauty and the grace and the discipline of a ballerina is associated with financial services.
Right.
Okay. That's the human innovation that's needed. Okay. But if you go into ChatGPT today, now it's got all of the training data from our original work that we published on the internet. It might just in fact give you this, right? Now it's already learned it.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I love that the deep thoughts that create the prompts that really create the genius behind it. I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's why the new buzzword out there is prompt engineering, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, your whole life is prompt engineering. It's about making the right decision. It's about saying, this is what I want to do next. Right.
Yeah. And focusing that attention in the right direction.
Exactly. So and I think that's the right word, is focus. It's going to help humanity focus on what's important.
That is amazing. Well, Pavan, again, thank you for joining me for the conversation. I know we're going to have a lot of interest. So where do people go to learn more, and where would you like people to reach out?
Just go to angelai.com, and there's a bunch of information there. And there's a link on the top which has training videos. You click that, and it's got a series of 5, 6, 2-minute, 1-minute training video. And that's it. And the only other thing I would caution people about AngelAI is that if you're used to using ChatGPT, you get answers like in a second. Okay. But you don't know what the answer is, right or wrong.
Right. That's right.
And it's right. And then we can have a longer conversation about that. And it even tells you, it gives you a big warning up front that says, don't trust our answers.
Yep.
Okay. AngelAI can take a minute or two to answer a question, which may seem like a simple question, but there's a verification process with every answer that AngelAI gives. Why? Because AngelAI answers are set in stone.
Right.
So if it answered a question, if you go to AngelAI and you ask it, what is the max loan limits for Orange County, which is, I don't know, whatever it is, 700 something thousand. And I should know that, I'm a mortgage guy. Gosh. And if it told you $1 million, right, and then you submitted that loan to SunWest, we're committed to $1 million.
Right.
I'm gonna have to balance sheet that loan.
Yep.
Right. And so the accuracy is that good where I'll put my money behind it. Okay. Well, obviously, I'm a little nervous when I put my money behind it. There's a verification process that happens.
Yes.
Right? And so we've gotten that verification process down. And you talked about this earlier. How, what's the growth rate? I mean, it used to take, every question was almost 5 minutes.
Right. I remember that.
Yeah. And now it's, most questions are done in under 30 seconds, and maybe on the outside a minute or two. Okay. And so, and then, within the next few months, every question, it'll be as fast as ChatGPT.
That is incredible.
Yeah. And so, this is technology that is perfect because the answers are perfect. So we focused on perfection of the answers. And then we said, okay, we could always make it faster.
That's right.
Right.
Yep.
But in financial services, if you don't have the right answer, you're out of business.
Yeah, that's right. That is amazing. Well, Pavan, as this progresses and as quickly as it does, I would love to have you back on the show. Again, thank you for being so generous.
Thank you, Chris.